Put down that turkey leg. It's time for the Pool Nation podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar De Jesus, and his co-host, the fastest netter in the West, JJ Flawless and Zach the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pool Nation podcast, part 2, with Cindy from Aquatic Business Solutions and JJ, the fastest netter in the West. And in the previous podcast, we talked about billing and invoice setups. We talked a little bit about cash flow and what cash flow is. We talked about some best practices and what to look for in banks. Now, in part 2 of this episode, we're going to talk about business setups, corporations, tax write-offs, and we're even going to take some questions. So, guys, welcome back, and let's get started.
So before we get into this next part of the question, guys, I would like to talk to your listeners for a minute and let them know that I'm based out of California. So a lot of what I'll be discussing is mostly based on California laws because it's what I see the most. I have clients, around the US here and there, but most of them are based here in California. So it's almost like a mental default to where my brain just automatically goes to California as an example. Also, I would like to mention that as tax preparers and accountants, we start getting ready for tax season early on in the year. And as the year continues, there might be tax laws that are written in or changed. So it's always good to check in with your tax professional on what is new for the year when you go do your taxes. And if there's anything about this year that it has taught us, it's to be flexible and ready for change. So please don't take the information that I will share here and feel like you can go online and do it yourself. Go check in with a professional, whether it's tax professional or corporate filing, somebody that will give you the most up-to-date information on your taxes for your business.
John, I'm going to let you take the reins on this and jump in.
It's a perfect segue here because let's switch gears here. So Cindy, can we talk about business setups and corporations? Because this is definitely a topic we want to cover and talk about so everyone can understand each one of them and get a good idea of what it should look like when they're looking to create a business or corporation.
Woohoo! Yeah, this is what we've all been waiting for, right? Like, we shot promotional videos for this. So I actually see a lot of debate on this when I sit down and talk to my guys. They all have just all these different ideas of what it means, what each business filing means. And plus, there's a lot of information out there, about sole prop, LLC, S Corp, C Corps. Like there's so much information that it ends up being misinformation. But again, having me in your corner, having me to come and talk to and, kind of get a clear vision of how to make this decision, is really helpful for you guys out there. The main reason you're going to want to incorporate or even form an LLC is to minimize your personal liability, right? So essentially what you're doing is you're putting up a wall between your personal assets and your business. So it helps, number one, in legitimizing you as a small business, but it also helps to protect your business and your brand name. And it's not one LLC is better than an S Corp or you want to just keep running as a sole prop. It really depends on each guy. And there's not that many drawbacks either from incorporating your business. It's something that you need to operate your business at a higher admin level than you're probably used to. But in the long run, it will really help out your business, especially as you continue to grow. It's almost like, okay, so your mom goes out and you go, shopping and she buys you these really big pants and you're growing into them. right? So it's even if you're a sole prop right now, incorporating will help your business grow into that and not having to wait at a later point to incorporate. And then, I have a story where this guy, he's actually in construction. So he's on the construction side of my business. He was running his business as a sole prop. And at the time, I was not his accountant. I was not his tax accountant. And so his tax guy failed to tell him, like, hey, it's time you've hit a certain tax bracket. It's time to switch you from a sole prop to a corporation. And he actually ended up getting audited. And so now, he's coming to me and we're having to go through all of his audit paperwork and now setting him up as an S Corp. So it's one of those, lessons learned, but it's learned the hard way, to where now he's having to deal with the stress of an audit and the stress of incorporating his business. Whereas if he would have had a good guidance in the beginning to set himself up so that it would be in his favor, in his success, instead of, getting to this point where, he's up against the wall and he's having to make all these changes real quick. And now it actually ends up being more expensive, than just just filing for, your LLC or your S Corp.
Awesome. So let's do this. So what is a sole proprietor?
So a sole proprietor, what it means is it's you. You are the business. And a lot of guys that start out, even myself, when I started out as a sole proprietor. It's the stepping stone to a business, but, there is a lot more benefits when you incorporate into, a business filing like LLC or corporation.
Yeah, this is great info. Let me ask you this. What I want to do next is maybe kind of ask you on each one of them so you can explain those. So what is an LLC? And I see this one out a lot more common out there, pool guys, companies. What is an LLC?
So an LLC, basically, it's like a hybrid between being a sole proprietor and a corporation. So it's like, in between. Your business assets are protected, but not completely. And you could still be taxed on your money unless you elect otherwise to be, you can still be taxed as a sole proprietor unless you elect to be taxed as an S Corp. So there's a lot of, an LLC, there's still a lot of things that you're going to want to look into before just going out there and just saying, oh, LLC, it's the easiest one. It's cheaper. And I don't have to do any of the minutes and keeping track of, my yearly meetings that I have for my business. So people usually go for this one because it's simple, it's easy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right fit for you.
So why do you think most people out there use the LLC? And I know in the name it has limited liability corporation. So do you think it's because of that, is because it just has that in the terms? So they go, yeah, that's what we want, is the limited liability.
That's good. That's fair to say. Yeah. But just because something's in the name doesn't mean that it applies to your business. Plus each tax law varies from state to state. For instance, I have this guy that I help out, and he's a client out in New York. So most of his work is remotely done. And I am up at 6 a.m. to help him out. That's 9 a.m. his time. But, I love my pool guys, so I will do whatever I can to help you guys out. So back when he was in California, he had structured his business one way, which fit California's tax laws. But now he's in New York. And so New York and New Jersey, that area, their business profits and their distributions are both taxed, even if he had elected an S Corp. So now we're having to, again, restructure him. And him, it was just because he moved to a different location. So wherever you are in, the nation, you do want to talk to your tax professional. You do want to talk to an expert in the field. Don't just go out and do it. There's all these do-it-yourself websites like, I'm not going to mention any names, but just websites that you can go in and do it yourself. And I think that's why guys go in and do the LLC, because it's, again, the cheapest, the easiest, and they say, oh yeah, limited liability. Yep, that's what I need. And it doesn't necessarily mean what they think it means.
So we talked about the sole, the LLC. So you talk about an S Corp. What's an S Corp?
It's known as the pass-through entity. So an S Corp doesn't file its own taxes. So the company's profits and any losses that the business, has, those are passed through and reported on the business owner's personal tax. So in a sense, it's almost like that money is double taxed. And that in this case is a good thing. So it also allows for you, the owner, to be treated as an employee instead of being the business. So again, the money that is made from that business is going to be on the business side, and then any profits from it will be passed on, passed through to you as the owner, and then you'll again go through your expenses and be taxed on that one. So does that make sense?
It made total sense. John, did you have a question on that?
I do. As far as when it comes down to like the S Corp, and I know it really kind of gets into nitty gritty. And Cindy, I think you're doing a great job when it comes down to kind of explaining it, because
yes,
the S Corp gets you can really get deep into it and try to understand the difference between it. And again, I just kind of want to jump in and say, hey guys, this is stuff that that you want to get a hold of somebody who knows something, whether it's Cindy or another company. You need to get in touch with an accountant or somebody or a tax person and really explore these options and sit down and talk to them, because there are some benefits to these. And it's not as simple as, like Cindy said, oh, it's an LLC. I'm going to pick an LLC and that's the best thing for me. Or I don't want to do this, or I'm afraid of paperwork, or I'm going to go to LegalZoom. What is it, LegalZoom or whatever? And you type in and you get, I think that's what you were probably talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's just like, hey, look, just like you expect people to, pay you for your knowledge when it comes down to pools and doing stuff like that. Same thing, guys. We respect value, and this is the type of stuff that really pays dividends at the end of the day, and when it comes down to tax year. And what's crazy about it is you don't really necessarily you don't know what you're missing until you've taken that step to talk to somebody like Cindy, right? Because in a perfect, you're doing your thing, you're doing your taxes, you're doing what you need to do, and you think everything's okay, but you just have no idea what you're losing out on, or what you could be missing out on, or what you should be saving, or how much more money you should have in your bank. And, as far as like the S Corp, there's a lot of benefits to it. I know us personally, as our company, we're changing over to an S Corp at the beginning of the year. And the reason why we didn't do it mid-year was just because I think you have to do it as two separate tax returns, or separately for a portion of the year. So moving forward in January, we're going to be doing that. And I highly suggest that you guys get in touch with somebody and look into the different options you have.
Yeah, Zach is on here. By the way, big shout out to Zach. He sent us a message online. And the one good thing that he talked about, and the great point, was that this ties into what your overall plan is. So knowing your plan is going to help them determine what you need to structure as. And I think that's very important, is that when you're talking to somebody, you tell them what your plan is and what your vision is for down the road. So great point, Zach. So Cindy, let me ask you this. For the pool guys and for the pool service guys, which one do you think would be the best?
So again, just with everything else, it's not a one size fits all. And actually, I really like that Zach made that point. You really do need to sit down and talk to someone about what your plan is. So I have one guy. He loves doing his pool service. He doesn't want to deal with repairs. He doesn't want to hire techs. He just wants to have his business where he takes care of his customers and is happy in that role. So for him, I recommend to be an LLC, because he's not looking to grow. He's not looking to have that income or that revenue at the end of the year to where he's going to be heavily taxed as a as an LLC. So in that case, it's flexible to how he's running his business. But let's say, on the other hand, you have the guy that wants to grow his business. He has a vision for what he sees down the line. He wants to buy a pool route. He wants to expand his service. Maybe he wants to go into pool construction, or, he really enjoys, having the service with pool techs and having those repairs. That guy, he is going to want to set himself as an S Corp. And again, it's like that saying I was saying, where you want to grow into that. Maybe right now you're not there. You don't have your pool techs, but you want to get there. So let's start doing the legwork now. And, let me help you. Let me help you set you up as an S Corp. Let me help you get that cash flow, tightened up so that you can get, your first pool guy, your first pool tech. You can go out and bid on those, pool remodels or, constructions. And in the long run, again, it's going to give you the best bang and the best tax benefits for your business.
So, Cindy, here's a question that guys ask all the time. What should pool guys keep track of, mileage or gas, to be able to write off on your taxes?
So really, in this regard, the IRS actually lets you choose. So whichever method works for you. Doing the actual expenses, again, this may be more record keeping throughout the year, but it will also mean that you will be able to write off larger portions in your expenses rather than, just doing, the easy, just going to do the gas. You want to pick the one that's really going to give you the largest tax write-offs, and sitting down with your tax professional will help with that. So it's up to you. But once you get down to hopefully you're not waiting until you get down to the end of the year. But if you get down to the end of the year, talk to your tax guy and say, okay, what if we enter all of my mileage, all of my gas, what is that going to give me? Or what is this going to give me? Somebody that could really help you out in making that decision.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be really wise, obviously, to look at it number wise and see which one is going to be like you said, that's going to give you your biggest bang for your buck. So what are some of the things that I cannot write off as a pool company?
Okay. So guys, you cannot write off that big, nice pool that you built in your backyard. Okay. I actually had a guy call me and say, hey, I'm building a pool and can I use that as a tax write-off, as I'm going to take pictures, and can I expense that in my taxes? I was like, no. Guys, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't. There's certain things that you're just going to set yourself up for like IRS scrutiny. So things like that, you wouldn't be able to write off.
So $80,000 pool I wanted to build is out of the question.
Yeah.
John, do you have a pool?
I do.
You do? Oh, so see.
And I'm like, oh my God, I was going to build another one. I was going to write it off, but now I can't.
Yeah, no building of the pool. So I'll have to run that by my kids and let them know that the pool's out of the question. So is there going to be a difference, obviously, in write-offs between the different corporations and stuff? So if there is, what can I write off as a sole proprietor?
The write-offs aren't really a big difference in what you can and what you can't write off. The biggest help to your business is keeping track of your expenses. Some of the things that you want to keep in mind are, if you have a home office, you can have the home office deduction. You have the auto deduction. You have insurance, bank fees, credit card fees. This year, I would say for 2020, you definitely, don't go through TurboTax. Don't try and do it yourself. There's a lot of changes because of how this year has gone on. And this year, there's actually a big perk, and I hope I don't spill the beans on this one, but I have a client who just recently bought a big, that big service truck. This year is one of those years where he can essentially write off that entire purchase. So every so many years, they have these options where you can write off big portions of expenses that you purchase to grow your business. For example, in my case, I would want to get, the latest QuickBooks with all the bells and whistles on it. I can expense everything that goes with getting that software this year. Whereas normally there's different ways to expense those cash expenses. But this year is one that you can take that entire bill and just put it on your taxes and as a complete write-off. So definitely get in there and talk to your tax guy this year to figure out what you can get for your business.
I have a quick question. I have somebody asking me here really quick. Are write-offs the same as tax deductions?
No.
No. So those are not the same, guys.
No.
And then the other thing,
Roy, you can write off your new trucks. I was talking about you, but I didn't want to put you on blast.
guys, for everybody listening, Roy typed in here because she was talking about taking that one-time deduction, and he's like, "Can I write off my 3 new trucks?" And obviously, he's excited over here, going, "Yes!" So, John, that private plane that you bought to have our meetings, you could probably write that off.
I got a month now to go buy stuff. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, I'm going to go buy another truck. I'm going to go buy this. I'm going to go buy that. No, but I mean, that's golden right there. I didn't know that.
If you want those little,
and that irritates me that she didn't tell me.
If you want those little tips and tricks to do, one thing that I love telling my guys is, let's say you have all your chemicals, you have all your supplies in like your backyard or your side yard, right? So at home, you also go out and buy a dog. Well, that dog and all of the expenses that go with that is actually, you can put it on your taxes as security. So another little thing that you can do to help your taxes is, finding those little things that you can expense out. So you have your pet groomers, you have the pet food, you have, the dog bedding. All of those expenses are for your security because, dogs will go out, they'll bark at whoever comes by. And so again, that is part of your security system that you have at your home.
That's awesome. Hey, Edgar, I got one of these questions that were on here, and I think it's a great one. Do you have to claim your truck as income if you sell it in the future? Let's say you write it off this year, and then 5 years from now, you end up selling it. Do you have to claim it as income on your tax returns?
In the future.
In the future, yes.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's a great question. Let me see one more thing. Matt, can you hear us? We're trying to connect Matt, but it looks like his headset's not allowing him. He can hear us, but he can't jump in. He wanted me to ask Cindy what you did for him with progressive invoicing.
So going back to billing and setting yourself up, and a big thing is for your accountant to really know the software that you're working with. Initially, he was working with another firm, and he really wanted these progressive invoices. You know how when you get your utilities invoice, and at the top it says new balance, outstanding balance, and then it gives you a total of what you still owe on your account.
Yes.
So it's basically the same thing. So what we did was, when we send out invoices to those people that, are a month, 2 months, 3 months, that they just, don't pay on time, I started putting on there, this is your new service for the current month. This is how much you owe, let's say it's like $250 for the new service, and your balance on your account is $500. So the total due is, $700. And actually, once we did that and had all those invoices sent out, it made a huge difference. So many people were like, wow, I didn't know I was, this far behind, and they caught up. So, again, little tricks that you want to do to help your cash flow.
They'll know when you hit them with the late fee.
Yep.
They'll know.
That too.
I'm going to brag a little bit, but I know software that does that. So, hey, John, I jumped in and I interrupted you. So I'm sorry. I'm going to let you come back and hit that question that you were asking.
Yeah, no. So what I want to do is I want to dig a little deeper when it comes down to the mileage and the gas and the truck payments and stuff. So why would I choose mileage or gas over truck payments, for instance? Because can you write off, let's say if I buy a new truck and it's not one of those years, or if I lease a truck, can I write off the payment to that truck, or would it, or can I do that and the gas, or can I do one or the other, or only two of the three, or how does that work?
I'm looking at these things that says better to lease or buy. That's a good question. Again, sit down and make a plan for your business, what you're wanting to do as far as leasing or buying. Right now, because it's, one of those off years, I would say go out and buy it, because you can expense the whole thing out. But really what you want to do is whatever is going to help you out the most. So yes, you can expense your payments, even, the interest that you have to pay on those car payments or those truck payments. Same thing. You can expense that. It's the biggest thing on the bookkeeping end is keeping track of it, keeping track of, even late fees. If you happen to, have that 1 month that was just a hard month for you to catch up on work, keep track of those things so that you can. So it's not one is better than the other. It's more of what's best, what's in the best interest for you as the business owner.
I could look at it numerically and sit down with you and say, Cindy, here's my truck payment, here's my gas, here's my mileage. And you could sit down and kind of crunch some numbers and go, I recommend that you go with this one because it's a better benefit for you.
Yes. So you want to sit down and have that conversation.
I think that's going to be the big answer to the question, John, really is sitting down, especially somebody that...
Because everything's so different. I mean, you can lease something and your lease is only $200, right? But then your mileage is through the roof, or one might have a really tight route,
yes,
and their mileage is nothing. And then you have a car payment, a truck payment, that's $1,000 a month because you got a big, beautiful truck, right? But then you have a really tight route and you're only running 10 miles a day, and it just doesn't make sense. And you need to be able to crunch those numbers with somebody who knows what they're doing and say, hey, look, okay, this is where you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck. Am I correct, Cindy?
Yes.
And I'll be honest, John, when I was doing it, I was doing my truck payments and the gas. I did the typical thing where I asked my tax guy and he's like, yeah, for you, we want to do payments and that was it. I didn't even know the answer to this question, but that's a great point. It's just really kind of sitting down and doing the math, and the one that gives you the best benefit is going to be the answer.
So if I go get a Lamborghini SUV and then wrap it and then actually do pull service out of it, I can write that off for the whole year.
Well, okay, so in my other, I worked for another company for a while, and we had this client, and he was like an insurance broker, and we did expense some of those big, nice cars that he was getting because it was in his field, again, so you have to go to somebody that knows your field. In his field, and what he did, he sold a lifestyle. And so that was actually part of his marketing. His marketing tactic was to get those nice cars and drive them around and sell his lifestyle, his product. So again, talk to somebody, don't just go in thinking that you've done all this, tracking and, here's the final number. Go in, talk to somebody, and, even if it's just a consultation, do a consultation with somebody to really understand what you can do in your industry.
I just want you to know, Cindy, that you said that. And right now, I know for a fact that John is trying to figure out how he can now sell a lifestyle into his premium pool service so that he can own that Lamborghini pickup truck.
Look, trust me.
Am I right, John, or am I right or am I wrong?
And I'm thinking, God, what am I going to buy this year?
Oh man, I
am not kidding. Trust me.
I know you're not.
We already spent like $65,000 on one truck this year already, and I'm thinking, man, well, why? If I can do that now, and I'm already thinking about buying another truck next year, well, why not buy it now, right? It makes
definitely sense. Buy it now.
So,
yes.
And I mean, like right now, you've saved me how much money right now just having this conversation, and it's just like, thank you so much. And and I think everybody else that's listening to this, I mean, this is gold right here, guys. I mean, come on, right here. I don't get it. I pay my tax lady like almost $1,000 a year do my taxes, and she hasn't told me this. And I'm going to get on the phone with her, after we get off this podcast, and I'm going to ask her and I'm going to say, why in the hell haven't you told me this? Why don't I know about this right now, that this is the year for me to do this? And to be honest, I'm irritated, and that's why it's so critical and it's so important that you have the right people. And you might think you have the right people, but, you might not,
And this is why I'm going to come back to the same thing and tell you that what Matt did for you was probably one of the biggest helping things a person can do, because especially for coming into the industry, when you talk to accountants and stuff like that, unless you educate the accountant, they don't know. So they're not going to be. I agree with John, though. There should have been a phone call kind of going, hey, just FYI, this year, this is what you could do.
Yeah, I mean,
Cindy, you bring so much to the table. This is the one area, guys, you can't be cheap. And I know that we're in an industry where what we try to do is save the biggest buck and save this and save that. But this is the person that can potentially save you thousands of dollars a year. And you're going to go out and you're going to go, I'm going to go TurboTax and I'm just going to go LLC because it's the cheapest, rather than doing the research and finding the right person and finding a Cindy that all of a sudden going to tell you, hey, you should buy that truck this year because you could write off the whole thing. That's huge.
Oh my God. Right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Honestly, that's actually why I decided to really find my niche, really find where I could use all of my knowledge, all of my services to help one industry. When I was with the firm that I, was with before, I was handling, and this is what's probably going on with your tax lady, I was handling a commercial painter, an insurance guy, a construction guy, a landscaping guy. I had all these different companies and industries that I was having to keep track of. And so I wouldn't have been able to say, hey, you in this field, you should do this. Because again, like I mentioned before, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. And I use a lot of notes. I use a lot of, I have a lot. You can ask Roy. He makes fun of me because I always have a notebook and I'm always taking down notes on, what is best in his industry, in your guys' industry, because I want to be able to help you guys. I want to be able to serve you, in the best way that I can. And that's what happens when you go to those accountants, when you go to those tax firms that handle a wide variety of accounts. They're not going to know what you in your industry really need that year, what you need, in the future. So they are very helpful. They are very knowledgeable, but you want someone who's knowledgeable in your business.
When I was doing my taxes, I started with a big, huge company, and I always had my same tax guy that did my taxes, but he worked for this big, huge firm. Eventually, he moved on, and I moved on with him because I was thinking the same thing. It's like, I finally get this guy to know me, to have a relationship with me, and this guy's going to move from that big company, and I'm going to have to start all over again with somebody brand new. And that's not something that I wanted to do. And I moved and his firm exploded, and it's a big, huge, firm. But it's just like anything. You have a relationship with them, you educate them, you want to be able to stay with them so that they know you and you don't have to go through that cycle again.
And also, like you're saying, having a relationship with them. I have this other gentleman, he's been in the pool business for a long time, and one of his guys got really sick. And him being an awesome guy, this guy's awesome. Even though the tech wasn't working, he still paid some of his wages, out of his pocket. And I told him, I was like, hey, tax-wise, every year, you are allowed to write off a certain number, and it's a gift. And you can just write it off as a gift. And you say, hey, I gave so-and-so this gift. So I told him, keep track of it, because it will help you out at the end of the year for you to write off that amount that you gave him as a gift. And what's crazy about that is that there's no number to how many people you can actually gift certain amounts to. So again, talk to your tax professional and, just see what you can do for your business.
John.
My gift, Edgar. Where's my gift?
I was just going to say,
I beat you to it.
You were so quick. Hey,
bro, where's my gift?
Zach, where's my gift? So, since Zach can only listen, he couldn't beat me to the punch. So I'll have to give you a gift, and Zach will have to give me one. So it looks like we're kind of all in a circle. That's great. Let me ask you the next question. We're talking about write-offs and some of that stuff. So what can I write off as an LLC?
So yeah, that's going back to, there's not a big difference, between what you can write off. It's more of, keeping track of those things, keeping track of what you have, and setting yourself up in the right corporation, in the right, LLC or an S corp, because it's more of the bottom line. It's, what tax bracket you're in to write off your expenses.
Okay. So what about an S corp? Because I know that you were talking that's a little bit different, where the money goes through, but then you're taxed on your personal. So what would be something like that?
It allows for your business to have those big net incomes at the end of the year, because again, it's something that it's not necessarily what you can write off, it's the amounts that you can write off.
Let me ask you this, and maybe we can break it down a little bit for the guys out there. What would be, or what would you recommend? And I know that every scenario is different, guys. So I'm going to ask this question, but don't assume that because I've asked it, you're going to fall into that category. Because I think at least one of the things that I'm hearing very clear is that you do need to reach out to a professional. Even though you've heard some of the answers here, every situation is different, and you are going to need to reach out to a professional to ask those specific questions. But let me ask you this. What would be maybe the right business setup for a guy that has 50 pools and he's making like $80,000 a year?
So I'm going to answer this question keeping my guy that's, happy with his pool service, happy being a one-man, business. So for him, I would recommend an LLC. It'll be flexible for how he does his business. And when he's setting up his LLC, I would have to have that conversation with him. I would say, how much do you expect your revenues to be? Because if he's expecting about 80,000, he could go either way. He could stick to just filing as an LLC / sole proprietor at the end of the year, or even doing an S corp. So that amount is actually like right in the cusp of, yes, do the LLC, but then further decide whether you want to be taxed on the LLC side or taxed as an S corp by holding your LLC. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of went in circles.
No, I think that makes complete sense.
Before I'm going to jump in and ask the next question that kind of leads up from that. But when we're talking about, let's say $80,000, are we talking top line or are we talking bottom line $80,000?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So, you can make $80,000 in sales, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're bringing home in the bank. So is 80,000 gross, or is it net profit or NOP?
I was referring to it as net.
Net.
So at the end of the year.
Okay, perfect. So that's a big difference.
Yes, that's a huge difference.
For making that distinction.
Okay, so then to jump on, say, what's the right business setup for someone that does, let's say, 100 pools and 200,000 or 120K in business?
And that's net.
Net.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are, bigger counts that.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Can you explain really quick the difference between net and gross? Maybe we have a brand new pool guy and they're like, wait a second, net, gross. So can you explain that real quick? And then we'll jump into John's question.
Gross is everything before you take into account all of your expenses that you have to do.
So it would, so basically it would pretty much be what you bill.
What you charge.
Yep. What you charge.
Yeah.
And then net is
what mama cares about.
That right. Is a smart woman right there. Heck yeah.
You're getting all this money, but we're not making anything, right? At the end of the day, it's what's in the bank account after you've paid all your bills, everything's all said and done, what you profit, where you're actually making in profit.
She says here, what you take home, bro.
Yep, right.
Where are you? Oh, I see it. She is John's wife, right?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
And we we call her, John calls her Mama, so we call her Mama Flawless.
She cracks her whip. Go get more.
I'm sure she does.
What do you think this Lamborghini SUV's for, right? That's what she wants.
I know what John.
Can I do it?
John wants to get the Lamborghini pickup truck. And by the way, one of the guys was saying out there that they needed to go out and get the all new electric truck from Tesla and buy that this year so that they can write the whole thing off. But I know what John wants to do. John wants to get the Lambo. And then the next question that he's going to ask you, Cindy, is really kind of how big does the advertising have to be? Can it be a little bumper sticker?
Right.
That's funny. Give me a call.
John, if you put a Pool Nation sticker decal on it, then you can write the whole thing off as business.
Perfect.
All right, guys. So let's get back to some of these questions because we kind of cut them off. So John was asking what was the right business setup with 100 pools and how much, John?
100, about 120, 125K in net profit.
Net. Okay.
Yeah, for these guys, I would say set yourself up as an S Corp, and you will definitely get the most bang out of your money when it comes to tax time at the end of the year, having that net income of 120.
I got one more question here from Ask the Pool Techs, and he's asking, would it be safe to say you're making you and your assets, and I can never say this word, and my kids make fun of me, can't even say it, as a sole proprietor?
Just to answer that question, basically, yeah, you are making yourself and your assets more vulnerable when you're running your business as a sole prop. So that's where there's no real timing as to when you want to do that filing. As soon as you have a plan in your mind, go down and file for, whichever one you want, because you want to keep your assets, your personal assets, safe. So yes, thank you for that question.
All right. And then, so we kind of talked about it really kind of depends on each pool company or each service company and when they need to hit what. And some might be a little bit more expensive to start, but has more protections and growth for the future. And I think you did a great job explaining that. So I'm not going to kind of ask that question. But what I want to know is, let's say if we've been talking about this S Corp, right, LLC and stuff like that. What's the cost that's associated with creating an LLC and an S Corp? So if let's say somebody came to you, or if they went wherever else to set up an S Corp or an LLC, what does it cost them to do that?
So the LLC, the biggest thing is that every year, it costs you $900 every year to keep your LLC. Your S Corp is obviously higher than that. And so that's where the draw is for the guys, because they're like, oh, an LLC, $900 a year, I'm good with that. But, it doesn't necessarily mean that it really will help you out when you're doing your complete taxes and going through all of your itemized work. But cool. I mean, to make it simple, yeah, that's why.
Now here's another one. Is one setup more or less scrutinized by the IRS? So when you're filing as a sole prop, or you're filing as an LLC, or filing as a S Corp, is there one that they look at? And I know this is really impossible to kind of because I know they have crazy algorithms that figure things out, or whatever they do to pick your name out of a hat. But is there one that is more susceptible to scrutiny from the IRS than another?
To answer it, basically, yes, there actually is one that is more scrutinized than the other, and that would be your sole props and your LLCs. And the reason for it is because of that flexibility that it offers when you're doing your taxes. And S Corp, again, you have all this legwork that you're having to do throughout the year. You have to have your minutes. You have to have a yearly meeting and take down notes and keep record of basically everything that your business does. You have to keep record of it as an S Corp, no questions asked. And where an LLC or sole prop, they have a flexibility in that, but that also makes you more susceptible for scrutiny when it comes tax time. So but that's me just giving you a just very basic,
absolutely,
yes, no, answer. That doesn't mean that as an S corp you're not going to get audited. There are many examples out there of corporations that do end up getting audited. So again, just make sure that you're set yourself up, the right way for your business, and keeping track, organized. Whatever organization you find works best for you, do it and stick to it.
Let me ask you one more thing that came up here. And we're getting some great questions today.
I know. We're going to have to do a part 2.
But you know what, guys? This is just great information, great information. So let me come back because I want to get to a couple of this. I have somebody asking, if we sell parts as filters, do we have to sales tax the clients?
Depends on the state that you're servicing. And yes, and that means you're going to want to have to get a resale license as well. Talk to your tax professional, especially going back to where I used to work. They had this idea where, just put it in the invoice and pass it along to your customers, which, yes, that is a way to do it, but is it necessarily the proper way to do it? And so that's where, again, talk to your tax guy, talk to your accountant, and, really make a change if need be.
Okay.
So that's a big question. So thanks.
So here's the next question. Cash accounting, is it more scrutinized?
No, that's just a way that you in your business, keep track of your expenses. It's, that's, I believe, is like cash accounting versus accrual accounting. Mm-hmm. And that really is more for your information. They won't look at that. They just want to know that you have a process in place.
The next question, is there a general figure on what it costs to incorporate and the yearly cost? So we talked about the LLC was about $900.
Yeah, to keep it going every year. Well, actually, I would say $900 in California, where I'm at.
Good point. What about an LLC in California?
You mean S Corp?
I'm sorry, S Corp. Yeah. Yes, thank you, John.
Okay, so an S Corp, you're looking at $1,500.
And is that every year as well?
Yes.
So there is that cost every year.
And, young, guys that are just starting out, to them, that's a big jump. But, you also have to see all the benefits that come.
Correct. Look, we talk about this all the time. I say this 1,000 times. You cannot step over $1 to pick up a penny. Don't be penny wise and dollar foolish. It might cost you $1,500 or $1,200. And I know that's not an exact figure, but if you're saving $10,000 at the end of the year because you have additional deductions or other tax breaks that you receive because you have that, is it worth spending that $1,500? Absolutely, it's worth it. So that's why it's important to get in touch with somebody who knows what they're talking about so they can put pen on paper and then figure out these dollar amounts. And if it makes sense, that's a great thing about bookkeeping and accounting. It's black and white. There's no gray line. It's either you're in the black or you're in the red with whatever decision you're making. And then it's a determination of how much in the black do you want to be. So it's pretty simple. Guys, gals, I stress, please take this seriously. Get in contact with Cindy, get in contact with somebody if you're in a different state or if you have somebody else that you know, but talk to someone who knows what they're doing so that they can at least tell you you're on the right track or come up with a game plan of what you need to do in the future. Because, the whole purpose of being in a business is to grow. There's some people that are happy with what they have, but if given the opportunity, they want more and they want to grow. And when you do that, certain changes need to happen.
The other thing that's important is you have to remember that these corporations are protecting your assets and you're out there doing work. It really is going to give you a protection. And I remember my accountant telling me a story that they had a guy that was in construction and he was a huge firm. And what ended up happening is the person that was doing the accounting basically did not pay a lot of the taxes that they were supposed to pay. And then all of a sudden, obviously they're getting IRS and the states coming after them big time, but it was enough to put him out of business. But it protected him personally from them coming, and taking his stuff away. So it offers a huge protection as well. And that's something that you need to look at if you have, a house, if you have properties, if you have real estate, that's really a protection from that as well.
Yeah, good point.
Big Family Pools is telling us that $85 for an LLC in Arizona. Time for you Cali guys to come back to America. Oh, Oh man. And of course, Rory's going, haha, it cost me $2,500 to file as an S Corp initially, plus $1,500 per year. So that is a little bit of the sad part of some of the costs in some of the states. So Cindy,
the upfront cost, getting that filed, like Roy was saying, getting his S Corp done initially, because that goes into what the tax accountant is going to charge you as well. That's his fees or her fees. So that initially, it's going to be a big hit in your wallet, but down the line, it's really going to benefit you. And that's what you need to look at. Don't look at what's in front of you. Look at where you're going to be, where you're going to grow, and make decisions based on, make decisions now to help you get there.
So Cindy, if you have somebody new, what would be your best advice for them in starting out their billing and their business setup?
Well, let's say somebody came in and is telling me, okay, I'm going to start my pool business. I've been doing it, on my own for X amount of time, and I'm ready to just go on my own. So the biggest thing is I do like to sit down and kind of do a one-page business plan. And I know when you hear business plan, it sounds scary, but it's really just more of getting your thoughts on a piece of paper. Where you want to be in a year, where do you want to be in 3 years? It doesn't have to be this huge plan for your business. And especially, in the beginning when you're just kind of still trying to figure things out. The other thing is I would tell them to, maintain a regular billing schedule. And big thing is start sending those service agreements. You guys have been talking a lot about, making that investment in, in me or in somebody like me, somebody performing these services. But it's the same thing for you guys. These customers are making an investment in their backyards by hiring you. So set yourself up to have that service agreement and detail it out to where you're like, hey, this is how much I charge for service, and this is what your regular, monthly service is going to look like. If you have to, if there's like a natural disaster, then, there's an extra, expense to you. You don't have to say that on there, but you just have to tell them, there's, an extra fee for high winds. Just make sure you set yourself up and you show them your worth. I think that's another thing that we've also been talking about is really show what you're worth to your customers, because it's really valuable to have someone who's knowledgeable going in there and servicing their pools. So I think that's a big thing is helping the guys out to really upbuild themselves because they're the professionals. They're the professionals in their field. So having those service agreements in place is really good. Also, when you're starting out, having a good filter clean schedule and knowing, okay, this account is going to need it every 3 months. This one's going to need it every 4 months, 6 months, whatever the case is, get it down in some sort of software and stick to that, because that's in addition to your normal monthly service. So that's like, that extra, bread and butter to your service that you're doing every month. So you don't want to miss out on having that set up right away. We've talked about card authorizations, sending those out so that the customers can, did we talk about card authorizations?
We talked about it briefly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go back to that now then.
Sure.
When you send out your service agreement, send out a card authorization with it. Make sure you get your customer's signature of approval to automatically run their card. One of the guys, what we did with him is he has his service agreement, detailed all of, the services that he performs and his fees for it. And then we have a separate attachment that we send along with it. And this is an option for auto pay. You want to set it up to, it's these like little marketing tips that you want to incorporate into your business. So you say, oh, this is an option, and you really want to sell it because that is going to benefit you. And what we did with his was we made two options within that service agreement. So we have one box that says auto pay for monthly service only. And then we have another box that they can check, and it says auto pay for repairs at whatever limit you think your customers will be okay with, whether that's 100, 250, whatever amount that you think your customers would be okay with you running their card for. Have those options. People love options. And, that's a good way to kind of set yourself up to where your customers are going to see your value. They're going to see that you are being serious about your business and how you want it to be performed. And they're going to want to do it. With another client, we started doing that. We started just sending out the service agreements attached to, the card authorizations attached to the service agreement. And we got back, out of the 5, we got 3 back that wanted to do it. So people want to have ease of, service. They know you're handling their pool. They know it's an investment in you. So they want to make sure that they're paying that service to keep you coming.
This girl's dropping some gold here for a lot of these pool guys, a lot of these new pool guys. I was, of course, asking her here some ideas as to setting up bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff. And she's just dropping some big knowledge for guys to completely set up their business. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, look, and this is just saying, seems like a lot of great information, right, guys? But this is just a taste of what she can offer you, when it comes down to services. So perfect segue. Cindy, tell us about the services that you do offer, what you can do for everybody on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, or, why people need to reach out to you and what they can expect if they do hire you.
Oh, thanks. So I do want to start off by saying that I actually started off my business as Buena Business Services. So I was helping out guys that, have, I have this one guy, he's a truck driver. I have another guy that's a construction. As I saw, through the help of my good buddy Roy, the pool side ended up taking off. And I love working with pool guys. It is so much fun, and I really enjoy the work that you guys do. I like seeing all the posts on Instagrams. Even though I don't always know what types of repairs you guys are doing, I like taking in that knowledge. That helped me kind of refine my services that I wanted to have for you guys, for the pool guys out there, for the pool girls out there. So initially, I do like to have a short free consultation with, whoever is out there looking for my services. And it's a good way to sit down and give you information on how to set yourself up for success. Maybe you're not at the point where you can afford all of my services, at a monthly or, quarterly at my rates. But when when we finish our call, you will have some good tips to get yourself going, to get yourself set up for that success that you want for your business. And what's great is when you are there, when you're, when you've gotten to that goal that we had set, I'm going to be here. So come back. At that point, my services, I like to offer them, as an a la carte to each individual, because again, your guys is the way this industry works. It's not every guy gets to kind of choose how they run their business. So I wanted to do it the same way. Maybe one guy, all he needs is someone to just go in there and prepare all the invoices. He will be the one printing them, sending them out, or, monitoring that. And that's fine. So again, myself and my girls, we'll have that available to set you up that way. But maybe you're bigger. You need someone to do more of collections, more of digging into your expenses. So let's sit down and let's find that package that's good for you. And then, of course, there's, payroll, taxes, and business formation, which is the LLC and the S Corps. So I changed, that's how we got Aquatic Business Solutions, is because I wanted to fine-tune the services that I offer to really help guys and girls in this field. Because like I said, I have my good buddy, Roy, my good friend, Matt, and many others that are in this field. And I feel for their wives when they're like, hey, we want to go on this anniversary trip and we want our husbands to, relax. We want them to be able to take that time away. And so it really honestly gave me a true, not just passion for what I do in the accounting side, but a true passion for what I could do to help my friends out.
So basically, it's like there's no company too small or too big for you to handle or take care of, right? And there's no minimum, like, oh, if you're going to have me, you need to spend $1,000 a month minimum before I even, so you'll cater based off needs, and then you'll be able to piecemeal or figure certain things out and then grow with them as they grow, be able to do more. So I like that. So becoming like a partner from the beginning and helping them out and growing with them as a business.
Yeah.
And the big thing that she said, guys, is free consultation. So I'm serious. I mean, it's one of those where it's like, why not call, ask the questions, get some guidance. Maybe you're not ready to jump in and have somebody, but ask the questions and tell her where you want to go and what you're going to need. And she'll be able to give you that guidance. And obviously we see her experience with regards to the whole business. So that's an added plus to that.
I think she's going to she might regret that statement that she just made. She's a lot of cool guys. Right. So I'm telling you, give it a little bit once we post this podcast next week. People start downloading and listening to it because your inbox is going to be pretty full, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And
like I said, that's why I really liked your guys' podcast. Actually, that's why I was, drawn to it, because I like that it's helping out this community. Edgar and I, had all these conversations over the phone about how much, these guys are out there on their own. They wake up, they get themselves ready for work, and then they go out and work. They don't have a team. They don't have, again, that friend, that trusted advisor to call and just bounce ideas off. You want that in any industry that you're in. That's why I was drawn to your guys' podcast, because I feel like that's what you guys are giving these guys and these girls out there. You're giving them that team, that friend that they can call in and learn so that they can better themselves out there.
Absolutely. And that's our goal. And that's been our goal from day one. And we always kind of try to partner with people that have the same passion as we do, not just I want to call in and talk about a product and sell it. It's no, you have to bring something to our community so that they can leave with something from our podcast and from our Instagram lives and all that. Ask the Pool Test asks, where are you located?
City-wise, so California, obviously, and then, because we've been talking about it, but specifically, I am in the Ventura area.
Maybe he wants to, pop in for a visit, which that would be great. But if not, you guys can always call and kind of have a conversation over the phone and then see if you need that consult. Guys, we've been at this for 2 hours and 4 minutes. Let's take a word from our sponsors. John, when I come back, I want to get your final thoughts.
The sound of you continually pitching pool care poles into the trash. The sound of you using an Ultimate Pool Tools carbon fiber pool care pole for years to come. Go to ultimatepooltools.com or Instagram at Ultimate Pool Tools.
Okay, guys, we're back with Cindy from Aquatic Business Solutions, and she's dropped so much knowledge here today that I'm really excited. I'm stoked about this podcast.
Yeah, man. You talk about final thoughts, and I probably said my final thoughts like 4 times within this podcast because, I'm just going through and just saying, look, I mean, this is just pure gold. This is the type of information that people just don't get to hear without having to actually take that step and going to an accountant's office and getting, paying the fee to go there and get this information. It's just like, guys, if this, after listening to this, you're going to want to go back and listen to it again, and you're going to want to start taking what we're talking about here very, very seriously, because time is money. And if you're wasting time in the wrong category, or if you're still a sole prop, or if you're not taking advantage of certain tax breaks that are occurring, it's costing you money. And it's hard to fathom or understand it because you don't see it. You don't know it until you know it. It's not an issue if you're oblivious to it. And what Cindy's saying and what we're trying to tell you is that there's a lot of tax breaks and a lot of things you can be taken advantage of, so that it'll be best for your situation, right? That you're going to end up saving a lot more money at the end of the year if you do it right and you jump on it now. You don't see it because you're not experiencing it. Take that step, give Cindy a call, or get with somebody so that you guys can be set up for success as far as your business goes. I just want to say thank you, Cindy. I think it was great. I'm going to get off the phone. After we get done with this, I'm going to go do what I need to do, and I'm going to call my accountant, and I'm going to yell at her about this.
No,
I'm not going to yell at her. But I'm just okay, explain. Look, and then what I wanted to say too at the end, look, guys, everything we say here, please do not just take it to heart and go out and do it and say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this because I heard this on the podcast. Exactly. Everything you hear here, make sure, you take this information and it gives you, see, look, with me, I'm not just going to go out and buy a truck right now because we're done. I'm going to go talk to my tax lady and I'm going to say, hey, look, this is what I heard. How do I go about doing this? And how do I do it right so that I do get the benefit from it? And when she confirms it with me that I can do that, then I can go make that decision, that informed decision. All this is doing is just giving you knowledge so you have the ability to ask the right questions to the people that are doing these things or taking care of these things for you. So everything you see here, please, or everything you hear here, please, whoever you go to do your taxes or that does your bookkeeping and accounting, you know what I mean? Go verify with them that you can do that and then take it from there.
And I believe it's called a bonus year or it has some sort of, like cheesy word like that for the type of year that this is for you to be able to write off the
bonus year, baby. It's happening.
Something like that. So just so that you can have the right verbiage.
I'm going to go out and buy a whole bunch of servers. I got my list going, man. I might not need that Lambo truck, but man, I need a lot of other stuff. And Zach is saying over here that he's going to have to go work for Flawless. He's already interviewed me. So I'm going to put in a bad word about you, Zach, so I get the job.
Or you can get that gift. The yearly
there you go.
Money gift.
There you go. And somebody gave a shout out here. Look at this. Twin Lambo trucks for Mama and John. Love it. Let's keep it real, not for John, for Mama. Mama, we're a bigger fan of you than John. We love John, but you're higher on our list. I do have a question here for somebody before I give my final thoughts. And it says, as a startup company, is there anything I'm assuming that can be beneficial, like cost of opening supplies or tools? I'm assuming he's saying, obviously, as a startup, is there anything big that he should think about now to have into those taxes?
Or maybe is there I think is maybe getting at, is there only something you can do that first year that you start up, you can deduct or you can do or take advantage of opposed to, other years maybe?
Yes, probably. That makes sense.
Can you restate that?
Yeah. So as a startup, the first year, is there any things that he can take advantage in the first year that he might not be able to in the further years?
I would say in the first year, take advantage of getting all of your equipment that you're going to need for your business, because you can always, there's depreciation that you can take on that equipment, because if you get, a certain tool and the life of that tool is going to last you, X amount of years, then you can depreciate that over that time. And so it'll help you in the tax part of it. So make the investments. I know in the beginning it's hard, and that's why, we talked about, going to a bank, going to a credit union, going to wherever it is that you're going to get the best help financially and, for that part of it, so that you can be able to make those investments into your business as you're starting out.
And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think when you first start out your business too, I think first 2 out of 3 years, you can technically claim a loss if there really is a loss before the IRS considers it like a hobby or something. Is that right?
Yeah. I believe it's the first 5 years, actually.
Correct. The first 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Okay.
So, that's the other thing, make that investment now. You're starting out, do it, and, you'll recoup the losses if there are any. Hopefully you have someone, that's in your corner.
Okay, guys, we are at the end of our podcast. My suggestion to everybody out there is, and we've talked about it a couple of times, is talk to somebody, get some help. Remember that everything is different in different states. That's going to be crucial. But hopefully with this information, you can grab some of it and grab some of that experience and be able to kind of go out and ask some more questions from your accountant or your billing people. Cindy, I really want to thank you for your time. I can really tell that you're not just somebody that wants to do her business and that's it, but you're actually somebody that wants to help the community. And that really kind of resonates with me, John and Zach. And it's really what we want to do for the guys out there. So I want to thank you. My last question would be, if anybody wants to get a hold of you.
Yeah, if you're wanting to connect with me, feel free to follow my Instagram pages. I have two, one under Buena Accounting for broader tax and business information, and one under Aquatic Biz Solutions for tailored information for the pool industry. You can also contact me through my website, buenaservices.com. That's BUENA services with an S at the end.com. You can reach me by phone, 805-626-0021, or email cindy@buenaservices.com. And if all those methods fail and they're lost or stolen from you, please reach out to these awesome guys. Send a message to Pool Nation. You guys have been awesome and a tremendous help. I really, really appreciate it.
And guys, you also know that if you have questions or want more information from her, either me, Zach, or John, hit us on Instagram. And soon, very soon, me, John, and Zach have been working on something that we're going to drop December 1st, but we're going to kind of keep it under wraps until then. And then what'll happen is once we do our podcast and we do our Instagram lives, we're going to kind of give you a platform to be able to connect there. We're going to be announcing that soon. Guys, I want to thank everybody for their time. John, I really appreciate it. That's 2 hours out of your time. I'm going to owe you big time. Cindy, thanks again. And we will talk soon.
Thank you. And thank you both, guys, for having me on here. Like I said, you guys are doing great stuff. So keep it going. And thank you so much for, taking your time out of your day and the time, also from your listeners. I really appreciate it. And I really hope it helps you guys out.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation podcast. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com or Instagram at Pool